In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hi, I'm Vicky Fraser, and this is the Business for Superheroes podcast. I'm here with Joe, who is my husband, and we are currently drinking gin and tonic. So if there is a little bit of giggling, then please forgive us. It's actually gin and tonic from our gin vent calendar, which is a most awesome invention because, you know, everyone loves chocolate, but gin's better.
Gin is better.
So, yeah. And being as it's nearly Christmas, and we've just had Black Friday, and I promised last week's podcast that we'll be talking about discounts, that's what we're talking about today. We are going to be nattering about why discounts will kill your business. Okay, I might be a bit scaremongery there, but they'll certainly damage your business. But before I go into that, I want to tell you a couple of uncomfortable truths about pricing, and I also want to ask you, are you Primark or Harrods? Now, I hate Primark. It's a complete shithole. And last time I went in there, which was a few years ago, I got wrestled to the floor by a utterly terrifying woman. I'm not even making this up. It was horrible. Have you ever been to Primark, Joe?
I have briefly walked into Primark, realised that everything is piled so high it frightened me, and then I've left.
Yeah, it's just horrible, and
I just can't be bothered to fight my way through the presentation.
No, it's really horrifying, and it's not even just the fact that I'm a snob, although I am a snob.
You are a snob.
But I just don't want to buy clothes that have been made in a sweatshop by 12-year-olds that fall apart after 2 washes and that I have to get elbowed in the face to get near. It's horrible. So, yeah, listeners, are you Primark or Harrods? Do you want to be in the middle of a scrummage of, peasants? Or do you want to sell great quality products to people who can afford to pay high prices? Pretty sure I know the answer to that. And I also want to mention a couple of other things about price, and the first and most important thing is that people don't buy on price in almost every case. In things like petrol, then yeah, you'll look for a low price, and I don't know what else.
Yeah, commodities.
Yeah.
A loaf of bread maybe, or just staples.
Even a loaf of bread though, I don't buy Sainsbury's own bread. Not the Sainsbury's own white bread, the cheap stuff, because I don't buy like the value stuff because
Tesco's blue stripy bread is available.
Yes,
other cheap breads are available.
Other cheap breads are available. But, and there's nothing wrong with Sainsbury's own brand kind of premium bread. It can be quite nice. It's not as good as homemade bread. The cheap value stuff is nasty. It's kind of rubbery. I don't know if you've tried folding it up tight into a little parcel and it turns in. Anyway, it's not nice. So whilst bread is a commodity.
More gin.
Expensive gin, yes. And by the way, Fever Tree Tonic. It's Fever Tree Tonic. It's not, Schweppes is okay, but it's not Sainsbury's own or Tesco's own or, other brand supermarket tonic. It's Fever Tree Tonic because it's nicer. And, yes, I could buy a bottle of tonic water for 20p because you can, but it's naff. It's horrible. So, yes, anyway, my point is that people very rarely buy on price. Even when you're buying commodities like bread, people still don't buy on price because I'm not going to deliberately go out and buy the most expensive loaf of bread in the world. And actually, there's a shop in Warwick called Bread & Co. that sells really nice bread, but it's ludicrously expensive. And I'm not that big a fan of bread, so I'm not going to go there. But I'm certainly not going to go to Tesco's and buy the blue stripy stuff.
But they've got their customers, they've got the market, they're making money, and they're making the product they want to make. Exactly.
And you've just made my point for me very well, thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Yes. So... So yeah, people don't buy on price unless you give them no other reason to buy from you. And we'll talk about that in more detail in a different podcast, because the second uncomfortable truth that I want to talk about is how often have you heard business owners say, I had to cut my prices, the competition made me do it. Have you ever heard anyone say that? Well, you might not do because you don't work with small business owners.
Don't work with small businesses, but we do get asked to push the price down.
And what do you say?
No.
Which is exactly what you should say.
No, we might reduce features, or we might change the design and remove some of the shininess from it.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately there's a profit margin we need to make, otherwise we're not interested. But
yeah. Oh, and by the way, it's not even just about profit margin. You should be, you could actually and this goes for Joe's company as well, you can charge whatever the hell you want. There are no rules. I mean, there are very few industries where price is regulated beyond utilities and commodities. But you can basically charge whatever you want. The prices that I set are arbitrary, and the prices that Joe's company sets are not as arbitrary as I think they should be. But if your product is amazing and you're the only people who do it, and Joe's company is pretty much the only company that does what they do well, certainly the only company that does it well, other people do it badly, he could charge whatever the hell he wanted, really. So why don't you? Anyway, that's a different discussion for a different day. But, you don't have to drive your prices down because the competition did. Go and have a look around your town and you'll find that all of the cafes and all of the restaurants around about have about the same price limit. They all have similar prices. And
a cup of coffee costs a couple of quid.
Yeah. And the reason for that is because they all look around at what everybody else is doing. And that's how they set their prices, which is insane when you think about it, because that's what everybody does. So there's that kind of incestuous, melding of price mushing that doesn't really make any sense. And it means that everybody's terrified of charging too much because they think that people won't pay it. When actually, if the only differentiation that you give people is price, then of course they're going to look at price. If you give them something else to choose on. Yeah,
a better environment or nicer service or extra features to the coffee or whatever else it might be.
Rolls-Royce coffee. Nobody drives a Rolls-Royce because of the price. They drive it because it's a Rolls-Royce. If price were an issue, we'd all be driving around in, larders or...
Daewoo Matizes.
Is it Daewoo Matizes?
Matizai? I don't know.
Anyway, we're not. You don't buy a Rolls-Royce. Your price doesn't even figure into it. It's like, I want a Rolls-Royce. I'm going to buy a DB7 one day.
It's not a Rolls-Royce.
No, it's not a Rolls-Royce, but it's awesome.
Okay.
Anyway. So, don't listen to what other people are saying. The competition doesn't make you do anything. It doesn't make you do anything. Price cuts are always self-inflicted wound, always. They really damage you. And if you want some very sketchy maths to demonstrate this, then consider this. If you cut your prices by 10%, say your widget costs 100 quid. If you cut your prices and say your widget costs 100 quid to sell, people buy it for £100, but it costs you £40 to make it.
Okay.
So you're making £60 on it.
Doesn't sound too bad.
No, it's quite good. Pretty good profit margin, really. Now cut your prices by 10%. You're selling it for £90.
Okay.
But you've taken so you're now making £50.
£50. Good math skills.
Thanks. So you're now making £50 profit.
Almost sounds like you're making this up on the spot.
I'm doing maths in my head. So you've cut your prices by 10%. You're now selling your widget at £90 a pop, and You're now making £50 profit instead of £60 profit.
Yes.
That's far more than a 10% cut in your profits.
Yes.
So a cut of 10% in your price means a massive dent in your profits.
Yes. And not many people are starting out with a 60% profit margin.
No, most people start out with like a 20, 30, 40% profit margin.
If you've got a 20% profit margin and you drop your prices by 10% in the similar numbers, you're halving your income.
Yeah, which is, that little sentence alone should send a chill down your spine every time you even consider discounting your products and services. But discounting is not always wrong, because you're probably sitting there and thinking, well, what about Asda and B&Q and Lidl and all of those places? Yep, you're right, they make a profit, but do you know what else? They've got massively deep pockets and they can afford to take price hits. Supermarkets get into price wars all the time. You see it on the news and in the papers, and you see them warring with each other over price. They're bleeding every time they do it, because there's only so low you can go. And you've seen how it's damaged the dairy industry. Farmers are doing horribly. And by the way, everybody should be going out and buying organic milk, and paying a decent price for milk, because supermarkets are killing farmers. Anyway,
organic British milk.
Organic British milk, yes. So yeah, I've got a problem with discounting. Most businesses, and certainly all small businesses, cannot afford to join discount wars. That you just can't. If you've got deep enough pockets, you can sustain a hemorrhage of cash for a long time. But have a look at your local high street and all of the discount stores that are disappearing and dying. Basically, it's bad juju, man. It's bad juju. It really is. Having said that, there are situations where you can put special offers on, and I've just done it. In fact, I've just done it with my new Write and Publish Your Book in 90 Days course.
I've just thrown tonic all over myself.
He actually has. So yeah, I've just done a special offer on my How to Write and Publish a Book in 90 Days course. And the reason that I did that is because it was a brand new course and it was a launch offer. It was available for 3 days only. And I did it for a very specific reason. In fact, 2 very specific reasons. First of all, I wanted people to take the course because it's a new course. I want feedback on it. I want to know what's working and what isn't. And the second reason is because it's a new course, there are always going to be wrinkles to iron out. And so I always like to give people an opportunity to buy a brand new product at a lower price. And, you know, they only had 3 days to do it because after that, I actually got a conversion rate of 14%, which is stupendous. I'm very proud of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was really pleased. So those people that I've got on my course at the moment, they're going to do it. They're going to give me feedback. I'm going to tweak the course. I'm going to change it. They're going to get access to all of the changes that I make and all the rest of it. And I had a very good reason for doing it. It's going to give me testimonials. It's just going to give me data. So, you know, there's that. There are also other ways to give discounts that aren't really discounts. You can do special offers. You can sell something, but then give away a whole load of bonuses. That's perfectly legitimate because what you're doing there is you're adding value. You're adding value to the thing that you're selling and you are not cutting...
You're not cutting your income.
Yeah, you're not cutting your income, basically. So if you're ever tempted to do an offer, if you're ever tempted to discount, my advice is don't. Do launch offers, do special offers, do, you know, buy one, get one free or whatever, or there's the better ways of putting that I'll go into in a different podcast. But, you know, add instead of doing discounts, add to what you're offering. Add bonuses that are really valuable, genuinely valuable bonuses. Because one of the things that I've done with my new course is there's way more than £500 worth of, you know, genuine value bonuses on there that, you know, it's not made up guru kind of figures, it's genuine.
Yeah, things that you would otherwise charge for.
Yeah, that I have charged for. So, you know, one of the bonuses is to get a free critique of your book outline and of your first chapter. And that's something I charge 250 odd quid for people who aren't in my inner circle. My inner circle guys get that kind of thing free. But yeah, that's 250 quid already. 257 quid already. And then there's a couple of webinars that are worth, you know, 97 quid each. There's Bill's doing a discount. Bill's my printer and publisher. He's doing a discount on printing and publishing for people that's going to be worth, you know, a good couple of hundred quid. So, you know, you can do that. You can add value all the time. That's a really good way to do things. So
I was asked recently to quote on a custom build engineering thingamajig that was going into a factory in somewhere near Leeds, I think. And we went in and we had a look and we understood the customer's requirements, and then we put a quote together, and the customer, we sent it to them a couple of days later, and the customer kind of went, "Jeepers, that's expensive. We've had competitive quotes and you're 2.5 times the price of one of them. Can you explain why that is?" And
what did you say?
Well, the customer didn't have an understanding of the complete package we were offering. The competitive quote that he'd had off somebody else was, "Here's a few bits of hardware that will help you achieve what you want."
Right.
And what we were offering was a bespoke piece of engineering equipment, all configured, sorted out, integrated into their factory with operators trained and a maintenance program and, you know, a beautiful stainless steel thing in his factory. And the competitor was, you know, here's a couple of cameras, effectively. Here's a couple of cameras and a day's worth of noodling about with them.
Yeah.
And when we explained that, they went, "Oh, crikey, okay, right, that's interesting. Is there any way we can make that cost less?" To which the answer was, "Well, no, if you want what we've offered you, then that's what it costs."
Yeah.
We could offer them the same things that the competitor is offering them. We could drop some kit off the list. We could lower the amount of training. We could take the maintenance contract out of it.
But then they'd be on their own.
But then they're on their own.
And they wouldn't be able to cope.
And it doesn't solve their problem.
No. Which is actually a key point. You always got to remember that what you're doing with your product or service is solving somebody's problem. That's where you've got to start from every single time. It's not, you know, this person wants this widget. It's this person has this problem and it's causing them this pain. And as soon as you nail that, you'll find that people are willing to pay anything. If somebody's got back pain and you can fix their back pain for them, then they're going to pay you to do it. It's, you know, if you've got a toothache. Speaking of dentists, by the way, this is another good reason not to discount, because it's not really dentists, it's kind of a medical thing. But my mentor, John, told me this story about a guy he used to work with way back when he used to have a proper job. And this person that he used to work with was undergoing a sex change. And this was quite a long time ago, so it was a bit unusual back then. And John's all like, "Oh, I hadn't even noticed," because he doesn't notice that kind of thing. It's quite funny. But this guy who was becoming a girl had kind of told him about this and, you know, went off and had the thing, and John left the job and they didn't meet up. And then it randomly ran into her in town a few years later. And she'd had all of the hormone treatment, she'd had the counselling and all the stuff that you have to go through. And John said, how's it going? Have you had the op yet? And this girl said, no, I haven't yet, but I'm on my way to Amsterdam next week. And John's like, oh, how come? Why Amsterdam? And she said, oh, it was one of the cheapest. And I was like, really? You're having a sex change. This is not it's not a minor appendectomy here. This is, why would you choose your surgery based on whether or not it's the cheapest? I can't even get my head around that.
I don't want the cheapest surgeon messing with my junk.
No, of course you don't. I don't want the cheapest dentist messing with my teeth. I don't want the cheapest hairdresser messing with my hair. It's utterly bonkers. I couldn't, that story kind of made me laugh, but also I just felt a bit sad for the person, because I really hope it went well. That's horrifying. Anyway, a slightly more recent story from one of my inner circle members. He had been asked to quote for a copywriting job, and he'd come to me to ask for advice because I'd advised him to put his prices up, which you should do, by the way. Put your prices up by 10% right now. But I'd advised him to put his prices up, and he did. I was really chuffed that he did. And then he came back and said, oh, they've said they've upped but they actually upped their budget for him, which was awesome because it meant they were really interested. But then they'd said that we can't go above this amount of money. So, what can we do? And he came back and asked me for advice. And I said, well, don't give them a discount, because that's just going to make them think, well, you overinflated the price, because if you can do it at a lower price, then why didn't you just give me the lower price? Which is another reason not to discount. But what you can do is reduce the amount you're offering them. So I suggested that, he knew better what they needed, what their really urgent stuff was, what the really important stuff was. And it was the landing pages and things. It's stuff that's going to make the sales. So I suggested that he did the landing pages and the really, the important stuff that was going to make a difference, get results. And then gave them a kind of template for a bunch of product pages that they wanted as well. I said, write them a couple, and then they'll see how you've done it, the language you've used, the structure you've used, and they'll be able to do it themselves. You can kind of put a template together, which actually is giving them more value in a way, because it means they'll be able to do some of this stuff for themselves in the future. And he went back to them, and lo and behold, they came back and said, yes, please, we want to go ahead with it, which is awesome. It was awesome for me because, this stuff works and I like to see it work. And it was awesome for him because it was the first time he'd ever charged a price like that.
It was a big number for him, wasn't it? It was a
big number for him, yeah. And I was so chuffed. So, don't discount for many, many reasons. Partly because people they're just going to think that you're not truthful as well. Because, if somebody says, what's your best price? It's like, well, my best price is 50 quid more, but you can have it for, And I've actually said that to people before. It's like, what's your best price on this? And it's like, well, I was going to charge you 100 quid, but actually 150. That was way back when I was, a very low fee.
And the thing is, if the customer you're talking to, or the potential customer you're talking to, is questioning the price, then it means you haven't explained yourself. It means you haven't explained the features, and it means you haven't explained the benefits, and it means they don't quite understand what it is they're paying for. Yeah. It means they think what they're buying is a commodity thingamajig that any fool can give them. There are loads of options. They can have this off anybody. And what your job is to convince them that that's not true. Yeah. You actually have an understanding of their business. You're great to work with. You are solving their problem. You're not giving them a widget. You're solving their problem. Yeah. And you will do it on time, and you will be, the responsive supplier that they need.
Yeah, you haven't shown them the value, basically. If somebody pushes back on price, it means that they want what you've got. If they weren't interested at all, you wouldn't hear from them again. They wouldn't even raise the objection of price. If somebody says, I can't afford this, or if they simply can't afford it, there's nothing you can do, and they'll go away somewhere else. But if somebody wants it and they're just objecting on price, then it basically means what Joe's just said. It basically means that you haven't shown them the value yet, and this is your opportunity to show them what value you're going to bring to them. And there's all sorts of techniques you can use to help you do that. But essentially, it comes down to selling yourself and selling yourself well. It's as simple as that. And the easiest way to do that really is to build a tribe of people that really love you and build a relationship with them and start, showing you value on a long-term basis. It's all about the relationship. All the profits are in the relationship. So a couple of takeaways. Don't discount if people ask you to. Come up with another way to reduce their pain. So, it costs this much, but, okay, if I'm going to come down to your price, then I'm going to take this and this away from it.
Or potentially spread it out over some time, offer it in phases.
Yeah.
Do the important stuff now, do the less critical stuff next month.
Yeah. That's a good idea as well. But basically don't bow to people asking for discounts, because it'll damage your relationship with them in the long term, and it'll make you feel like crap as well. People who go after low prices are low class jackass clients as well. They're just trouble. They're not just stingy, they're a pain. They will be the people who give you the most problems.
Yeah, they'll pay you late.
Yeah.
They'll question your delivery.
And they'll just be a nightmare.
Yeah.
They'll be rude and obnoxious and ugh. So the second thing to remember is people don't buy on price unless you give them nothing else to go on. If you give them nothing else to go on other than price, that's the only thing they can make a decision with. So, again, consider what's their problem, how are you solving it, what's the pain that you're taking away. And finally, start thinking about, how you can charge more, really, building your niche and all the rest of it, which brings me neatly on to what I'll be nattering on about next week, which is niches, why you should have a niche, how to build your tribe, and profitable things like that. So really got nothing more to say, except I'm off to Amsterdam next week on a storytelling course, so I'll probably talk to you about that as well. Thanks very much, Joe.
No worries at all.
See you guys.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.